Hi, this is Jeff Spence, your Math 135 instructor for the Community College of Denver, and this is our presentation over how to put together some basic graphs for your project using Microsoft Excel. Once we create these graphs in Microsoft Excel, they're very easy to just copy and paste over to your Word document, and you can size it up in your Word document to fit into your paper however you really want. So most people are going to be option B, and I've already created this table of information. For option B, I want you to compare basically the yes and no of the null versus the yes and no from your sample. And your sample is really your first bit of evidence to show that maybe the null is wrong and that your alternative is right, or even wrong, possibly. So you'll definitely want to label the two sets of data null and sample. And then I have a general yes and no, but this could be like iPhone or not iPhone, or do they eat breakfast in the morning or not eat breakfast in the morning. Whatever your question asks, make sure to give it some context here. So this is just a general yes and no. So if you have your null, if your p is 0.6, then 60% would be yes, 40% would be no. And then maybe your p hat is 78%, 22% for no. Once you put in those numbers, just highlight the cells that have data in them. I know this upper left hand one will be empty, but don't highlight any extra cells to the right or below. And then choose, usually you have to go to, in the Macs, you have to go to charts and then pick column graph. I think on the Microsoft stuff, you just go to insert chart and then you can pick the column graph. Pick that, just pick the first option, and this is looking pretty good. We have the null labeled, the sample labeled, and this is showing maybe if you had a right tail test, you thought maybe the percent was over 60%. This is good evidence that yes, maybe over 60% own an iPhone or something like that. So we just need to insert a title and some labels. So to do that, we go to chart layout. On the Microsoft computers, it'll be a green tab, and it's the middle one that says layout, I believe. Click on that, and then we have our two options to the left, chart title and axis titles. Every chart and graph should have a title. I usually pick the title above the chart, puts in a little template for me, and then I type in however I want to title this project, or sorry, title this graph. So if it was like iPhone or Samsung or eat breakfast or not, you can really title it however you want. It's up to you. Then it just has to be, I guess it's not, it's up to you, but it should still be informative on what this graph is telling you. All right, then the other thing is that this vertical axis is going to need a label as well. So remember, you go to layout, oops, click back in there, layout, and then go do axis titles. It's the second one from the left, and pick the vertical axis title, and let's do the horizontal title so we can read it. And I just type percent. And then we have a good indication. This yes and no will be based off your labels that you put in there. And this will be a good indication of what the null said and what your evidence from your data is saying. So I'm going to, but remember, you can just copy and paste that into the Word document however you want and size it up, put it in there however you want. I'm going to delete that one now. Okay, so for anybody that's option A or C, you're dealing with quantitative variables, and so therefore you're going to have numerical responses. So it'll be good to, before you create a histogram, you want to create classes and intervals. I've actually had you do this way, way, way back at the beginning of class for, I think, the speeding ticket data. And so we had to pick the classes and then figure out the frequency within each class. Remember, when you set up these classes, that they can't overlap and that they have to be equal width. But you get the freedom to pick the size of the classes as long as you have about at least 4 classes. So I just did an example with 3 here, so I can just, I didn't do too much, and just say, my data starts at 0 and goes up to 30 or something like that. So this is just labeled quantitative variable, but this is something that you would want to label like age or number of times that they have worked out or something. Just whatever the label is goes here, and then frequency on the right column. Once again, just highlight your table, go to charts, column, first one, and you also have a bar graph going on, sorry, a histogram going on here. Now, I know there's a way in Microsoft that if you right click it and pick a certain option, it's pretty easy to merge these bars. I haven't been able to find that in the Microsoft stuff, so, or excuse me, the Mac stuff that I have right now. So if you find out, let me know. Then you can change the title, put in some labels, make sure to label this vertical axis with whatever label that you have here. And then don't forget your label down here. What is this label? Okay, so actually, sorry, no, excuse me. This vertical axis should be labeled frequency. And then this shouldn't be frequency. We should just get rid of this. And then label the horizontal axis as like ages or number of times worked out or whatever. So you still want to go to chart layout and mess with your titles and axis. All right, then if you are an option D person, then you're going to have two groups. All right, and sorry, if you're option C, you will have two groups, but you're just going to do two of these histograms, one for each group. Option D people have two groups, and the easiest way to put together this data is like so, where we have group 1 vertically, group 2 vertically, and then their yes and no within each group. So this could be iPhone, smokers, or iPhone owners or not, smokers or not, whatever your question was between the two groups, the general yes and no. Then you go to charts, column graph, first option, and there's our comparison between the two groups. Don't forget that you do want to put in titles and axis for any graph, or axis labels, excuse me. So make sure to do that with any graph that you do. Once you're done, you can copy it and paste it over into your Word document. Give me a spot to paste this, please. And then you can scale it and move it around in your project paper. All right, so that's pretty much all you need to do for the Excel graphs, depending on your option. Good luck, and we'll see you next time.